Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Karamjit Singh Thind from the Kalgidhar Trust. A very warm welcome to Sangat Television's Community Matters program. Today, the program focuses on education. The role that education plays, how important it is in developing a community. As we remember from many years ago, Tony Blair said, education, education, education. In today's program, we have a young Sikh icon who has worked very hard, broken barriers in achieving what every child's dream is. With me today is from the Afghan community, those who were left homeless in Afghanistan, those who had nowhere to go, underprivileged, impoverished. They had to seek the betterment of their families. With me today is a young man from that very difficult background who is today at Harvard University in the United States of America. Let's look at his life. Let's reflect the journey he had to travel to get this far. Ladies and gentlemen, Sadh Sangat Ji, please give a very warm welcome to Awnit Singh Ji, Marta. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Awnit Singh Ji, I mentioned Afghanistan. Perhaps you can give us a little background as to where the story begins, your story, where you were born, what happened by the time you got to the UK. And in the interim period, I will also intervene and perhaps ask a further question which can clarify how your journey actually took place. So perhaps if you could start with where you were born.
So I was born in Afghanistan, in the city of Kabul, and I was the third son of my family. But soon after, because it was a time of conflict in 1998, in around June, we moved to the Netherlands as refugees.
In which year?
1998.
1980. And how old were you?
I was probably a few months old, so I don't really remember most of the story from that time.
That's interesting. And how long were you in the Netherlands before you came over to England?
So I lived most of my childhood there, and in 2006, so 11 years ago, we moved to the UK, and we've been living in Southall since.
Okay. Did you have any education at all in the Netherlands? Any schooling?
Yes. Oh yes. I went to most of my primary school over there.
Okay.
And I got to learn Dutch. We were the only Sikhs or Asians in our school. So my dad came in once, we did a turban tutorial, we told him about our religion, why we keep our case, and then because of family reasons, because there's a big Afghan Sikh community in Southall in England, we decided that we should move over.
And tell me, Awnit, what is the main reason for moving from another European country to England? What is the inspiration?
So the main reason was that our family thought that there's more of a community which will let us thrive more in our own community, and as well as there being more family here. And I must say it was a good decision.
Bigger Sikh community here. And were you all already in touch with family members who were already here from Holland?
Not so much.
Not so much. Not that you are aware of. I think you were quite young, at that time. Can you recall the exact day when you arrived in England? Which city did you arrive in? And
so we came via a car. So I remember when we left our house with a van with all that stuff. We went into a ferry, and the ferry came over to Dover. when we drove into London. First few days we spent at our cousin's house because the house was still being renovated and new carpets and all that thing. But then soon later we moved over.
Well, sounds fascinating. So everything was, including yourselves, your belongings, everything got loaded onto a van. It's just like another move for your parents. You may not see it that way, but it must have been another stressful time for your parents.
Oh yes, of course.
Could you see that stress, or as a 8-9-year-old child, or?
I remember feeling very happy and smiling when we left.
And what was the reason for that?
I'm not sure. I'd come to England a few times to visit cousins.
Oh, you had travelled to England before. Okay.
But so for me, it felt like a very exciting move. Meeting all these new people. I thought London was a great city, so for me it was the best thing ever. What I didn't realise was all the friends I was leaving behind, all the environment I was leaving behind, all the great neighbours that we had, because they really appreciated us as a family, because we were the only Asian family in that neighbourhood.
So the rest were all European Dutch?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you integrate quite well with them?
Oh yes.
Yeah. And your parents picked up Dutch fairly quickly?
Yes, they used to go to a college over there, and they picked up Dutch from the college.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Now, can we actually go to your early education in the UK? If you can tell us a little about the school, what class you started in, and what were the challenges, because it was another language, because you had not studied English before.
It was interesting. So I joined in year 3 in Lady Margaret Primary School, which is on Southall, in Southall. And because I didn't speak the language, I was put into a class with other English as a third language, second language class.
Second, third language.
Yeah, for me third. And in that class, I got to pick up English very quickly. In like 2 or 3 months, I was very close to fluent. Which was quite surprising to a lot of people. There were times in class where I just didn't understand what was happening, but one incident I do recall is when we had maths numeracy classes, and because obviously maths doesn't change whatever language you go into, everyone was really surprised to see that I was answering questions. And that's one of the main highlights for me for when I first moved to the country.
And was this the first few months?
This was the first few months, yeah.
And what made the learning of English easy? Was it the friends, because we Sikhs tend to speak English at home, everywhere? Was that the case, or was there some other pressure where you put added effort or some tuition?
Well, I didn't go to tuition, and at home we speak only Punjabi. Well, our Kalgidhar only Punjabi. So at home I didn't really learn a lot of English. Even my brothers, because we were all new to the language, we chose to speak in Punjabi. It was mainly with my interactions through meeting new people and talking to them all the time.
None Sikhs, none Punjabis.
Yes, none Punjabis. And through that I was able to pick up the language very quickly.
And what class did you join?
Year 3.
Year 3, okay. Now that's interesting. Is there any other recollection about that early education, primary education, that you want to share? Was it a mixed school, boys and girls?
Oh yes, it was mixed, public, normal school.
Normal school.
Yeah. It just felt different in the sense that first of all I had to wear a uniform. There's no uniform in most European countries.
Okay. No school uniform.
Oh yeah. At lunchtime I thought it was weird that every school has a lunch cafeteria, a canteen. In the Netherlands we didn't have that.
You had to take your own food, I suppose.
Yeah, either you take your own food or your parents can pick you up from school and take you home for lunch. So I'd always go home with my mum. My mum used to actually work in the school.
As a dinner lady. In the school?
Yeah, as a dinner lady. So she'd bring food, or I'd go home with her. I'd have food at home and then I'd come back. But over here we were in school all day. So at lunchtime you eat your food and then you go play with the children, football or something else. Yeah.
Now that's fascinating. We'll come to your secondary school in a minute. You mentioned obviously somewhere about Hemkund Symposium, and that probably also means attending Punjabi classes somewhere parallel to this primary school education. Can you tell us something little about that experience?
My Punjabi school experience as a child was very, very weird and very different because I did originally join the Punjabi school at Nanak Sahib Gurdwara near Lady Margaret Road.
Yes.
And everyone there spoke in English, and that was very new to me because when in the Netherlands we always spoke in Punjabi at the Punjabi school. And it also didn't have a lot of structure, so I wasn't really sure what I was getting myself into.
And there was a Punjabi school in Holland?
Oh yes, at the Gurdwara.
Oh,
on Sundays we used to go.
That's interesting. So this was different here.
Oh yes. But I also jumped from different Punjabi schools because for me, some reason I didn't connect well. So at one point there was a Punjabi school being held at Lady Margaret Primary School in the evenings. So I joined that, but that seemed to be more for people who are very new to the language. So native Punjabis who don't speak Punjabi. So again, that wasn't for me.
So you were ahead of that group also?
Yes.
Yeah.
So eventually I joined the one at Guru Nanak Darbar, the Afghan Sikh Gurdwara. And at that Gurdwara, it was, when it first started, there used to be a pub right next to the Gurdwara. And a butcher's shop as well.
Yes.
And all of those got converted and bought by the Gurdwara. So there used to be classes inside there. We also had caravans outside. So like big classrooms. And we'd have classes in there. But again, there wasn't a lot of structure. Eventually, when more proposals came that the Gurdwara should be built, the Punjabi school should be improved, it went from around 50 to 100 kids.
This is probably around 2010, 2012,
very early stages.
Around that period.
And then they transferred the Punjabi school into the sixth form, the Featherstone High School sixth form. And now there's over 500, 600 kids.
I mean, what was your attraction to be learning Punjabi? What was the appeal? What was the appeal to you?
I don't know. I think it was at a young age I started meeting people at Park Avenue Gurdwara who went to do Kirtan classes there, who used to go afterwards to samagams, and they really influenced me. So I felt that I should learn more about my Sikhi because of their influence. So there were times where I'd go to samagams with them and I'd pick up, and I try to listen to the Gyanis and see what they're saying to actually pick up what they're doing.
Awnit, tell me, how has Sikhi helped you in being a stronger person? See, life has got ups and downs all the time. Even when you're growing up as a teenager, I think you're already getting to that stage after just 2010. You're going on to a secondary school, and you got parallel Sikhi Punjabi classes running along with perhaps your GCSE approaching, and the pressure must have been there. I mean, how did you feel Sikhi or Punjabi classes helped you to be probably stronger and more determined in probably getting very good GCSEs? How did it help you?
I think there were times where it really just sucked to be in that position, that thinking I've got so many GCSEs going on, I can't dedicate my time to Punjabi school. But you have to remind yourself all the time what you're studying Punjabi for, what you're studying about your gurus for. So for me it was just remembering that these GCSEs aren't what are going to go with me. I don't remember what I studied for English literature, I don't remember what I studied for physics or chemistry, but I do remember the Sakya I learned about Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the Sakya I learned about Guru Gobind Singh Ji and how he gave up his life, his family's life, sorry. and that's what stuck to me. What also stuck is that my parents had this belief in me to do something that they weren't able to do. So even though they got to learn Punjabi in Afghanistan, they probably didn't get the same opportunities as me. And by reminding myself that, I was able to continue on the path and be resilient.
And that is fascinating. I mean, you said you didn't know what, as a child, why you were studying physics or why you were studying English definitely as a language, but English literature, why you were doing that. And I think that's quite common.
Of course.
Children don't see the reasons behind all this, but there's definitely something about you which got you closer to Sikhi. I think the stories from the Sikh history are fascinating, and if children are taught earlier in their life, it's a source of inspiration, it's a source of strength, which helps you in life. In terms of secondary education, I'm sure you did very well at GCSEs. Can you give us some idea of what you achieved at GCSEs?
So in terms of my grades?
Yeah, grades.
Yeah, they were mainly A's and A stars.
A's and A stars. Yeah. And did you find them difficult, or you just enjoyed and,
I think the main struggle for me was doing GCSE English language. I originally received a B in that, but I retook the exam another time to get that up to an A as well. I think I did enjoy it, but even if you don't enjoy it, sometimes you just have to take it.
You just have to, because qualification is important stepping stone to everything. And what were the A levels that you did?
So I took maths, further maths, physics, and I also did an AS in Punjabi and computer science.
Yeah, I think a very good choice actually. If you look at, of course, Punjabi is your heritage, is your culture. That language is quite unique. For example, when I was trying to pronounce your name as Awnit, and you said no with a tanka.
Oh yeah.
I know. So totally different. And that really the pronunciation. Punjabi is a very developed language, so I think it's a very good choice to do that subject. And computer science, everything is technology.
Oh yeah.
Life is going to be technology, so I think it's a very good choice. And doing subjects like maths, I think easy to score, and you were good at maths and physics. Was there any particular reason, from a career point of view, that you did these subjects? That you had a career in mind?
So I didn't know at this point if I wanted to study in the UK or the US. So I decided that I would pick these choices because if I do go into a science, technology, engineering, maths field, so they're called STEM normally. If I go into a STEM field, these three subjects tend to be the one that help the most with those careers.
Did you have some advice on that? And who was it behind that advice?
I have two very close teachers. One's Mr. Shah and one's Mr. Lal. Mr. Lal is a Sikh who teaches physics in our school. And they were very good people to go to for advice and for encouragement. And they kind of recommended doing those subjects as well. I had friends who are in the similar field. They're studying physics at university now. And they also picked very similar A-levels to me.
Before we go on to the selection of a university and how you made those decisions, up to that age of about 18, what is the input of your parents in your life that got you where you are today?
I think the number one way they inspired me was through reminding me how important education is, reminding me how important my Sikhi is. And there are times where you just think they're just saying whatever, they're just saying it because their parents, that's what they do. But as you grow up, you actually realize that what they say really matters. Also, just speaking Punjabi at home really helps.
Yeah.
Because that way, whatever you do outside, once you come back to your house, you stay connected to your roots. I think that those were like, these are very simple things that they did, which may seem like not a lot, but eventually they contribute to the big picture.
And what do you think that children and perhaps even their parents miss where the children don't speak good Punjabi and they're in a Western world? Do they miss out something when they get back home at the end of the day, every day?
I think on this move to modernization, we forget who we are as people, and we think that our culture, our way is old and needs to be put aside for the Western world. I don't think that's true. I think when I talk to people, when people see my dastar, when people see my case, they ask me questions. I was at the airport the other day, and a French guy just comes up to me and he said, when you were at security, you didn't take your qada off. And he started asking me all these questions. So I see my culture, my faith, as a way to connect to more people, not as something that's coming in my way of modernization.
It's people are definitely curious, as you rightly said. And how do you tell people that Sikh is a very modern religion? Do you use any particular sort of phrases or arguments to defend that Sikh is unique? Is there anything that you normally add to?
I've been very inspired by a leaflet that Basics of Sikh created, and wherever I go, I tend to carry that little leaflet in my bag. So I use that leaflet to describe how Guru Amar Das ji had women who went out to talk about Sikhi.
Yes.
Guru Har Gobind Sahib ji, for example, built a mosque even though Guru Arjan Dev ji was martyred by the Mughals. I talk about things like this. I talk about how we believe, for me at least, the way I interpret Sikhi is that anyone can be spiritual even if they're not religious. And you don't necessarily have to be a Sikh. You don't have to convert to connect to God. Well, that's my view at least. Everyone obviously has a different view about that.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. As far as Sikhi is concerned, do you talk about human rights, freedom of speech, that Sikhi has given you? Is it ever introduced in some form?
Surprisingly, I haven't talked about it very explicitly. I always assume that's a given, but I feel like I could definitely raise
I think that's one area definitely worth looking into.
Definitely.
In defining Sikhi as a very modern thought, a very modern ideology, a philosophy. So that is fascinating, and really I think we appreciate that you recognize the role your parents have played in your life, which is fascinating. By the time you got to sort of making a decision at university education, you obviously did very well. You had the choice to be studying here and overseas. What did you look at to start off with in the UK, and how did the opportunity to go to Harvard arose?
So around 3 years ago, I applied to a program called the Southall Trust US University Summer School. This is a program which allows students from underprivileged backgrounds, from public schools, to consider applying to the US for university, since where I go, no one knows how to apply or what the factors are to consider. And the number one factor for me was, even though I'm studying these A levels that are very specific, so maths, further maths, physics, I still didn't know what I wanted to do at university. So I applied to university in the UK for physics. So had I gone to the UK to study, I would have been studying physics for all 4 years. But this program opened my eyes into taking different subjects. and choosing how I want my degree to be formed. So they helped us with our essays, and they took us to the US for a week around 2 years ago.
What's the program called again?
The Sutton Trust.
The Sutton.
Yeah.
Sutton Trust.
And they help you through the whole application process. And then I applied to the UK and I applied to the US. They normally tell you to apply to the UK as a backup just in case something goes wrong with your application. And through those factors, I thought I would give it a shot and see how it goes.
No, it is fascinating. And which UK institutions accepted you?
So I applied to Oxford University, Imperial College, Bath University, Bristol University, and Durham University. I got accepted to all of them except Imperial because I decided to withdraw my application because they were taking a really long time to process my application, and because I had already received a reply from all my other institutions, I decided there was no point to keep Imperial in the loop.
Sure. And by the time you withdrew from Imperial, did you already have the Harvard acceptance?
Oh yes. Yeah.
So you were pretty clear.
Yeah.
And have you shared this route of applying to American universities with anyone?
Oh yeah, of course. I've talked to a few students who were with me in Guru Nanak Dev when we were studying there, and I also talked to students in my own school in Greenwood High School, and I was surprised when I went back this summer to school. I noticed there was a board that had all these different US university posters, so it showed that the teachers are now paying more attention to students having a shot at applying to America.
Well, Awnit, thank you very much for sharing this remarkable journey with us. But is there anything you have now? This program that you are going through in the US at Harvard, is it a 3-year program?
It's a 4-year program.
It's a 4-year program. So are you still in the first year? Or
yeah, I just finished my first year.
You finished already. So you're about to go on to the second year.
Yeah, in about a week.
Yeah. And is there any sort of track you can see where you are heading towards career-wise, or not yet?
I don't think I know. And sometimes when I tell my parents and my friends that, they seem really confused. And they think, well, my parents at least think, what will I tell other people? Like if they ask me, what's your son studying? And I say, you know what, it's okay not to know what you're doing. Everyone is really focused on career
learning,
but right now what matters to me is enjoying my education, and that's what I'm trying to do. And let's see where we go from there.
No, I think it's wonderful. You're learning and you're exploring. It's a wonderful way to have that persona, because you're a Gursikh. A Sikh is learning, and you're still very young. Only at 19, what you have achieved is wonderful.
Thank you.
And may Guruji be with you, Ang Sang Sahib, all the time with you. And thank you very much for coming on to this program.
Thank you.
Hopefully we will host a program in the States with you at Harvard with other Gursikh children.
That would be great.
But thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Sadh Sangat ji, we look forward to the next program with the youth. Thank you very much for dedicating the time and watching this special program. And join us in saying Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.